beginning of the session, but Natalie is a Director of Global Safety Resources in South Africa, and the title of her presentation will be looking at total employee well-being. Just a reminder, Natalie, you have 20 minutes, and then we will go to a Q&A. And a reminder to the delegates to please rate the speakers in the poll section and also to put some questions to the speakers. Over to you, Natalie. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to be on the platform. Thank you for the invitation to the RSR and all the sponsors. Yeah, we're living in strange times, eh? I hope you can see my happy face today. Just wanted to say happy, is it Wednesday today? Anyway, I'm having trouble sharing my slides, so I'm going to ask that the team just share them for me. And before I carry on, I just want to say thank you and hello to all the speakers before me. What an honor to be on the platform with you guys. And Professor John, I've learned so much from you again today. You know, one doesn't stop from learning, but yeah, it's awesome. And I see from all the attendees, it's so nice to see you guys are coming back, you're learning more, you're engaged more. And hello to Jessica. Awesome. Right. Can I have my first slide up from the team? Thank you. This is one of the topics that is so close to my heart. People that know me will know that occupational health and more the employee well-being is very close to my heart, because I believe that if you have a healthy, well employee, you're going to have a productive employee, and you'll be able to have a productivity and achieve your bottom line. So my topic is total employee well-being and the factors in the railways that actually contribute to that. It has to include a lot of other issues, not just the employee's contribution, but all the factors. So we'll try and go through that very quickly. I've only got 20 minutes. Those that know me very well know that I can speak for the whole day. So next slide, please. Yeah, there's a bit of a delay. So in terms of the definition of well-being, this is being thrown around. And now with COVID, everybody's like, I want employee well-being, wellness. There's so many things being thrown around, but what is well-being? It's such a multifaceted description, depending which country you're in, which location, or which company you're working for. And a lot of companies are doing a lot to ensure that the employees are on course, they're happy, they're well. But you also know that happiness is a choice, right? You decide that what will work for you and how you're going to be happy. Nobody else can make you happy, but we're talking about well-being. So it relates to individuals, right? And it also relates to our workspace thing that we talk about, a work issue. It's a hedonic approach to achieve happiness. It's just not something that you start now and then you end. It's really a lot of facets and factors that impact it. So hedonic meaning happiness, and eudaimonic meaning you're in good spirits. That's mostly how you also see where people are when you wake up. And there's a verse as a Christian person, there's a verse that says a person carries their countenance on their face. You can actually see where they are. And self-realization that I said earlier on, happiness is about you making yourself happy. Right, next slide, please. And then when we look at total well-being, it has to include everything from your spiritual, your financial, your health, and everything else. And for organizations, they are striving, a lot of organizations are striving to have employees having total well-being, because we know in reality at some point employees will not feel well because they are having illnesses. And of course, with COVID, that has been the case in many, many instances, or you've lost a family member very, very close to you, or many family members. So you're not happy, but most of all, you have illnesses or diseases, and sometimes those are coming from the workplace, right, that make you feel unhappy. Also, that you're unsatisfied or not see the job that you are doing that is meaningful or rewarding, because money can't buy everything. So you may get a nice bonus, but you feel that this work that I'm doing, and I'm going to use local words because that's me, it's a stupid job. You're not seeing where you're going with this job. You're doing the same things and it's not rewarding or fulfilling. So you may be unsatisfied and you don't see anything for your future or the type of work you engage with. So this is about in the railway space, the work that you're doing and finding yourself. So you could also look at it as your physical and mental health, and this contributes to your self-esteem and your overall quality of life. Quality of life, I'll explain some of it later on. So Gallup in the US did a study in 2019, not so long ago, that 85% of employees are unhappy at work due to work-life balance, company culture, employee engagement. I've just picked on those three things. Work-life balance, a very important topic here as part of total well-being, and company culture. Company culture that it is either there's too much autonomy from the top, you don't have decision making, or just a bad company to work for. And then employee engagement. Employee engagement is not management sending you emails or SMSs and now lately WhatsApp. That's not engagement. That's not even communication. That's just somebody sending you a message and they can't see your emotions. Like my emotions telling you today, I'm having a happy day and I choose to be happy. And I want to remind myself that this is my decision. Next slide. So what does the World Health Organization say about what wellness is and well-being? Next slide, Bill. The World Health Organization, before that, said that a healthy workplace is one where workers and management collaborate using continual improvement processes. In other words, if your communication system doesn't work today, it must work better next week, or you must try and improve what you're doing to protect and promote the health and safety and the well-being. Now, before we used to talk health and safety, it's now a phenomenon. You've got to include well-being. And then the last key word here is sustainability, because you can't be in a situation where something works today and then you have all these projects. And I know it happens in the rail space because I come from there. Every week there's a new course we're on, or there's a new team that we're coining, or you're onto new slogans. There's no sustainability. You don't pull through on the projects that you're busy with to see, does it actually work, or does it satisfy the employees or management? So you got to consider that. Why have we found ourselves in this, and why has the World Organization tried to explain? Because of the changing world of work. Where am I sitting now? In my office? At home? Is this my home office, work office? How do you do a risk assessment now when employees are asked to work at home, right? The world of work has changed, and it's very difficult for people to adapt because we are beings that do not like change. I'm fortunate I don't have small kids running around. I have my space, I can do work, but it's not the same for everyone. There are people that have to tend with other people in their space. So the world has changed, and we have to adapt. Health and safety concerns in the physical workplace. Now that could be you working in a space where there's permanently noise. I'm talking about in the workplace, or your work environment is not conducive. The concerns that you have from a health and a safety. Think about a dripping tap or a locomotive that's permanently on because you can't switch it off. And I've experienced this. There's something faulty with the locomotive. Somebody's not coming out to fix it. So you leave the engine on and it's permanently running and the fumes are going, but you can't switch this locomotive off because if you do that, locomotive can't go. So the physical work concerns that employees have do not get addressed, and that affects their work environment. Then psychosocial. Why? Because we are social beings. Psychologically, if we can't be switched off, psychologically, the way your boss walks in the morning, sometimes you try to read the atmosphere. You even have secretaries phoning, say, he's in a good mood, you're in a good mood, you can go talk to him. That impacts an employee's ability to perform. So now, if the boss is not in a good mood, you can't go and see him, propose something to him, ask for leave, and now you have to wait another day. What if the boss is again in a bad mood? Now, what do you do? So that perpetuates the work culture as well. And then personal health resources. I know a lot of companies have access to EAP, but what about on-site counseling and things like that? And then you got to obviously consider your community and family members. Your family plays a big, big, big role in how your work-life balance is attained. And I want to give an example. We used to ask train drivers when they're off shifts that they actually go home and rest. But in reality, it can't work. You know why? Because you get home and your wife wants to go shopping, or you go at home, you got to go do something with your kids. So that also plays a role. So, and in many instances, organizations also have to sort of educate the extended family to say, when a person is working shifts, this is actually what it means. You can't just say, now you're coming from work, let's go do shopping. Or you can't have these curtains with dark windows or dark, that when you need to sleep, you need to draw the curtains. What's wrong with you? So there's a lot of factors that plays to your family and your community being part of this. Next slide, please. It's water, I promise you. It's water. Right. So, what are the stakeholders' responsibility here? And I'm not going to go through all of them. Human resources. You see people when they start the organization, you see them when they leave the organization. So, you have a big, big role, at least 90%, because HR plays a very, very important role in everything that happens with an employee. Yeah, so much so in the supervisor, the manager as well. But HR is a very, very important service, not just for hiring and firing, but to ensure that the employee stays engaged, the employee is well, and that there are programs that actually work for them. Then there's occupational health, occupational safety. But I want to stop at senior management, because management, senior management, executives, and myself included, where I serve on boards, and Professor, you would know this as well. We make decisions. We decide the policy is changing. We decide that the company is taking a new course, or there's a new change in a new sheriff in town. So you make so many decisions that it impacts the lives of the people on the floor level. So when those decisions are made, do you consider how it's going to impact the employee wellness? Let's say you change a policy and you remove some insurance that the employee benefited on, and now it's no longer there. Everyone that is considering their pensions or their livelihoods are going to be affected. So yes, it's important. And then the other thing, I just want to maybe mention supply chain. Sometimes we buy products, services that are not fit for purpose. So yes, these stakeholders should be considered. The new term in the world of work is all about collaboration. If there's no collaboration and teamwork, you are not an island. You cannot work on an island. You can't achieve any goals. There has to be collaboration and ensure that programs, products, services get along, like customer services. If you have a client that is not happy, they're going to be phoning everybody up until the board. But you don't want that. People need to work in teams. They need to collaborate. It's not only my program that must achieve. Everyone has to contribute. But what happens is, because we play favorites and sometimes it's all about me, and people want to only do what is on their job description, and they don't want to move away from their job description. And that's why we fail, because we do not collaborate, and people want to check out. They check out literally, even if you tell them to sit down. I see it with my kids, but in their hearts, they've stood up. Right, next slide, please. So there's got to be collaboration, there's got to be consideration, involvement, consultation, and asking people, what do they think, right? So the other contributing factors is, I'm just going to mention the 6. Fatigue management. It's common in the rail space. Fatigue is a big thing. I just want to relate to a story that happened a few years ago, when a truck driver drove into a famous comedian, Tracy Morgan, and eventually Walmart had to pay out 94 million because of that incident. And one of the other passengers in Tracy Morgan's car was killed. Fatigue was the cause of that truck driver, because we were chasing numbers, chasing productivity. And when things happen, management is nowhere to be found, and the employees left alone to defend for themselves. Luckily, Walmart paid out. You know, they obviously were taken to court, and it was the employee. Monotonous work, and I feel this for the train drivers. I've taken a long drive with train drivers. 300 kilometers sitting on a train, looking at that road is no joke. And I don't have the guts to do that kind of work, and I salute you If there are train drivers here, I respect the work that they do, and I think that we need to respect that they are just as much a contributor into this role. And how do we make sure that they are given their breaks, not call them off when they're on leave or when having a break? Leave them, let them rest. That's why it's called a rest period. Workload. Now with COVID, a lot of employees are not showing up for work. We're working at home. Now somebody else has to carry that load, literally. So it impacts on your well-being. Healthy lifestyle. The food we eat, obesity is a problem. People have lifestyle diseases like blood pressure, diabetes, and it impacts on your well-being. It impacts on your job performance. It impacts on how you do your work, your mental acuity, and everything with that. Then stress, financial stress, kids stress, life stress, everything people are experiencing. And obviously, I understand that there's EAP and they are able to go and see a counselor or something, but stress plays a major role. And how do we engage in having employees that make sure that their well-being are considered, not the stressful life? And then workplace facilities, this is something that is very close to my heart because I experience this a lot. You go to a facility and they've only catered for men, or you go to a facility, there's no facilities for disabled persons. And knowing the rail space, I know that we have made a lot of progress. I go to some places and they've done well. There are more female toilets than for men, so that's good. But your workplace facilities are important. If you don't have a restroom, if you don't have clean toilets, if you don't, I'm talking about the issues around dignity, even not even a fancy dining hall. So this plays an important role in your stress because now you want to sit somewhere and there's nowhere to sit. You don't know where to unpack your lunch. You don't know where to hang up your jacket. Right, so these things do impact. Next slide. Thank you. So on the hazardous environments, most of us would know this, and I'm not going to labor it because I've got a short time left. But job design is not job description, please. It's how the work was designed. If it's meant to have a ladder, and it's meant that when you're having maintenance, that ladder should be there. You shouldn't be waiting for someone to call and install the ladder, because eventually when that building is done, there's going to be no access. So job design from a actual activation is also important. How do you do your work, the flow, the process, the system? Then we have areas where there's slips, trips, and falls. I've got a picture here where the guy is walking, and it's common. It's very easy for that guy to fall and hurt his back. Moving, working on heights, moving trains, the weather. We're having beautiful weather now today, but the weather can change and then it rains. Are you equipped? Do you have the right PPE? Falling objects, electricity, the infrastructure. And with COVID, it's an issue that we need to deal with, where employees are coming back to work or they're working staggered working hours. And then ergonomics, a big thing. There's a regulation out called ergonomics regulations. Have you done an assessment? Have you made sure that your employees at home have proper chairs, not just at work? Are they able to go and fetch their desks, fetch their chairs, fetch whatever they had in the office? I mean, I've seen people have to make shift working on boxes, and you expect them to work at home. I work for myself, so whatever I do, whatever I need to do to assist myself, that's on me. But if I'm working for an organization and they haven't made sure that I've got the right tools, equipment, the network, everything to do my work, it's going to impact. It's so stressful. Like, we had to do test runs to make sure that this presentation worked. So if I don't have the facilities, what does that mean? Next question. Sorry, next slide. High-risk employees. I'll talk about it just now. So the factors again, substance abuse, working alone. It's a big thing if you're working alone. There's been many cases where people are attacked while working alone. What is the organization doing? Do you have a lone working policy? And then I just want to talk about something quickly. General neutral bathrooms. Is that a thing? Is that something that the organization is going to look at because of the LGBTQI community? We've got to consider this. This is South Africa. We've got constitution and people have rights to have proper facilities. And how would the organization deal with that now? I've just put them because I had a case where I had to go and speak to an organization about dealing with this. Next slide. I think you skipped something. Go back. Go back. Right. So, no, yeah. These are just the areas I mentioned earlier on where HR has an impact. If you are an HR and if you're an HR manager, please, you have to know that this is not the safety officer's role. You are part and parcel of making sure that the hazards in the workplace, the risk associated, it's part of your role. It's part of your intervention, part of your interaction, part of your engagement. You don't pass it off to the supervisor. That usually happens. Role conflicts, return to work, rehabilitation, role ambiguities, social support, social well-being, musculoskeletal disorders, psychosocial work demands. It's all part of having HR in that space. And it's not the safety manager's role. We are advisors. So as practitioners, as professionals, I'm also reaching out to HR personnel to say that this is part of your responsibility to assist management in dealing with workplace wellness. Next slide. All right, just something on this slide, and I'm sure they'll be able to share it with you, a negative impact on employees. And I mentioned lifestyle diseases, but I want to talk about something that is also imminent, and that's obesity, where we need to deal with obesity, because if you can't function in your workspace, it's going to impact on your health, it's going to impact on sicknesses in your being, and it's going to get to a point where you're absent from work, or you're present, what we call presentism, but you're there, but you're not really there. And it impacts on productivity, it impacts on performance of the organization, it impacts on your commitment, it impacts on incidents, your resilience to work, your performance, and then obviously you're going to have unmanaged chronic illnesses. Next slide.
Natalie, sorry. If I could ask that you please wrap up. We've got 1 minute.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Right, I will wrap up. I think I've got 2 more slides. What Nike did, and this was just one of the case studies I thought I'd include, is that they sent all their US-based employees home and listen, just take a week off. We know that you've been under a lot of stress, duress, and go and chill at home. It's not coming from your leave. So these are things that companies can do in terms of their ability to implement some policies. Next slide. I'm going to skip the policy part because I think we understand what policies bring to organizations. It allows you to set boundaries and standards, and it allows you for promote a certain work culture and rules in the space, specifically in the rail space as well. Next slide. I want to wrap. Just move on from that. Next slide. Okay, so just go back. Just one more thing I want to mention is that, go back, that one area of wellness that we need to address, go back, Paul, back, is that the area of sexual harassment and bullying in the workplace. It's a very serious phenomenon. I'm dealing a lot with this issue, and I think in our space, because we work in isolated areas, we work in spaces that are not usually open to everyone seeing what's going on behind the scenes, that we need to have sound policies in place in terms of bullying in the workplace, in terms of sexual harassment, so that there's an openness in reporting. And the last issue around violence in the workplace that I want to mention, you guys do know the case with Babita Deokaram that's happening, where people want to talk up about things that don't work for them, and the next thing they know more. So violence in the workplace is a real phenomenon, and I think organizations need to look at that as well. Okay, we can move on. I'm done, Jessica. So total employee well-being programs have a potential to reach, to enrich organizations in the long run, and for the individual, and for the employee, and for the economy, and for the railway industry. So we need to consider how that is done and looked at. And I think I'm done. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'm here. Over to you, Jessica.
Thank you, Natalie. Certainly, always good to hear you and to see you. I've worked with Natalie before, so I know how she is able to engage the audience, and I can see that through the number of hearts and loves and kisses and everything else that you've been given. Natalie, there are a couple of questions, if I could ask that you do try respond later on in the day to some of the questions. But I'm going to ask if I could just read one question, and then you will respond to the others later. If Dr. Mabila is online, he wants to know, and he's welcome to elaborate on the question, what is the impact of the lack of managerial emotional intelligence on employee well-being?
Sure, it sounds like an academic question. Look, the link here is also to what we call as psychological safety. People check out. That's the only word I can maybe use to explain. They check out. They will do what you ask them to do, and they will not do anything more. And if you ask them to move the brick from this spot to that spot, that's exactly what they do. They're not going to use their intuition. They're not going to use their intelligence. They're not going to go out of their way. They're not going to think out of the box. And it's like a command and chain type of thing. You ask me to move the bricks, I'll move the brick. Don't ask me anything else, and don't ask me to use my wisdom, my cleverness. And that's what you're going to get. In reality, you'll get an employee that's just what I call a wheelbarrow employee. How does a wheelbarrow work? It only moves when you pick it up and you push it. That's it. It's a wheelbarrow employee.
Well, thanks, Natalie. I think you mentioned earlier about coining phrases, but I think you've coined a phrase today of the wheelbarrow employee, and hopefully we don't throw too many of us in that wheelbarrow, otherwise you won't be able to pick it up and move. But I would just like to thank all the speakers from this morning's session. There are comments and questions on the chat group for all three speakers, so I invite you to have a look at that and respond. To the delegates, you're reminded to please rate the speakers on the polls section of the panel that we're on today. And then just from my side, I would like to thank all three speakers for your engagement and your enthusiasm. It's really been a great kickstart to the morning, and I really do look forward to the next 3 days listening to all the other speakers that we have lined up. So from my side, I will hand back to Africa. I hope you've rejoined us, Africa, from hopefully not your radio studio.
Jessica, thank you very much. That was excellently chaired, and I absolutely agree with you. I think it was a wonderful and fantastic start, I think, to the morning, reflecting on some pertinent issues there on obviously the impact of COVID in safety and safety culture that we need to build, the impact of it, of course, in our neighbor, Namibia, and Dr. Natalie Skeepers there talking about the total employee well-being. As Jessica reminded you throughout that session, please go to the poll tab on this platform and rate each of the speakers. At the end of the day, we'll be awarding the best speaker as determined by you, and I'm looking forward to seeing those results. We are now going to go for a short break. At 11:10, we're going to ask that you be back on the platform, please, where we will kick off with Mr. Sisa Mtwa, who's a board member for the Railway Safety Regulator here in South Africa, to continue our reflections on the theme of embracing the new normal in an environment that is obviously changing on a daily basis. Do use this time, please, to connect, go to the lounge and see who the other delegates are, and if you are able to invite them to have a quick conversation about potential business collaboration and partnership, this is the platform for you to do so. We've got some amazing exhibitors, of course, who are here on a digital platform. We invite that you explore those as well. But at 11 o'clock exactly, we'll be back at the plenary to continue with our discussions today. See you in 20 minutes.
SAPEX is the body professionalizing supply chain management in Africa since 1966. 53 years of commitment to supply chain excellence in Africa, whilst growing, empowering, and sustaining a vital community of educated supply chain professionals. Supply chains are at the heart of every organization, and supply chain competence is the catalyst for economic growth and transformation. As supply chains become more complex, skilled and ethically accountable management is essential. But where are those professionally designated and ethically accountable supply chain professionals? You are these supply chain professionals. These are our supply chain focused organizations, and SAPEX aims to elevate your role as a supply chain professional within them. Join us on our journey to elevate supply chain management as a profession in Africa. Think supply chain. Think SAPEX.
Welcome to Lukini, South Africa. We are the preferred manufacturer of high-quality forged railway wheels for locomotives, wagons, and passenger coaches on the African continent. Our products include monoblock wheels, tires, axles, and wheel sets to specification. Our facility in Germiston, South Africa is ISO 9001-2015 and IRIS certified. We are approved to supply products to AAR and OEM standards.
Smart Ergonomics is a consultancy that specializes in ergonomic services for a range of industries, including transport, mining, manufacturing, and healthcare. We offer a comprehensive suite of solutions that are tailor-made to the needs of our clients. Our services enable organizations to meet their legal requirements, achieve their occupational health goals, and improve productivity and safety in the workplace. Smart Ergonomics Services. Through consulting, training, research, and development, we develop tailored, smart, and high-impact solutions. Our services take a systems approach and are applied across the 3 domains of human interaction: cognitive, physical, and organizational ergonomics. Our consulting services integrate ergonomics into organizations using established methods, approaches, or interventions, including ergonomics risk management, human system interaction assessments, accident investigations, fatigue risk management solutions, training and awareness. For more information or to speak to one of our consultants, please contact us on the details displayed.